Hey guys, I wanted to take a minute and talk to you today about discipleship. One of the things that I feel that the church has kind of missed the ball on a little bit, and I say a little bit because I don't think that they're completely wrong, is the idea that Jesus never told us to go into all the world and make ye converts. Instead, he said to go into all the world and preach the gospel, and in another place he said to go and make disciples. And there's a difference between a disciple and a convert. A convert is somebody who has just kind of professed the name. Maybe they've come to this belief and willingly and truthfully have devoted themselves to Christ, but then the modern church kind of takes it upon themselves to just divorce the relationship there, so to speak, where the individual is told to join a church and continue to grow, and that's really about it. But the individual who actually presented the gospel to him more or less divorces himself from the process. And it's almost the idea that it's kind of like an assembly line medicine type thing where, I'm going to come in and patch you up, and then I'm going to move to the next guy, and then I'll just kind of kick you down the line to my assistant to continue tending to your wounds. And we can see just from the modern medical profession that has not worked well, as doctors are being told to tend to patients, in 9 to 11 minute fashions, and basically just an assembly line type medicine type deal. And what's been lost from it is the connection with the doctor, the bedside manner, the interaction with the doctor, where he knows you, he knows your history, he knows your personality, he knows your likes and your dislikes, and things like this. And this all plays into having a good doctor. And I think this is something that is largely missed in our evangelistic pursuits, today, particularly in the Western Church. And this was something that Joel Rosenberg actually did a book on discipleship. And the guy's a prolific author and just an amazing, inspired writer as well. Christian, obviously. But one of the things that he talked about is that the relationships that we develop are the ways in which we make disciples. When in our day-to-day activities, the things that we do, our pursuits, our work, and so on and so forth, Jesus never told us to leave our jobs. We're told in many places that, if a man doesn't work, neither shall he eat. Paul said that. So we do have to continue working. We do have to continue providing. But by the same token, we're told to make disciples. So how do we go about doing this? Well, we do this through our day-to-day interactions, whether it be extracurricular activities, whether it be our work. In our day-to-day activities, we're told to make disciples. And in doing so, we preach the gospel and we share the truth. To use Jesus' analogy, we spread the seeds, but it's up to God to prepare that soil and determine whether or not that's good soil or rocky soil or whatever. And you can look at the parable that Jesus talked about of the different types of soils. But we're told to basically just scatter the seed. But then once that seed is scattered and once it's taken root, I don't see anywhere in the Bible where we're told to just kind of kick that guy down the line and no longer tend to his needs. Instead, this is a guy that we're intimately familiar with because we already had a relationship with this individual to begin with, and that at this point, it's our job to both nurture and to grow this individual, to continue that relationship, to continue guiding him, and showing him what it's like to be a Christian, both the good and the bad. Showing him that Christians do stumble, they do make mistakes. And this is one of the things that I think is is largely missed by the church as well, is that the church is so focused on righteousness, or it's so focused on worldliness. But there's a middle ground, so to speak, there, where yes, we should be focused on righteousness, but not to the point of putting on a false front. Because I know growing up in the church, one of the things that I continually found was that every time that I sinned, every time that I messed up, I was always getting discouraged by my own failures, because all of these guys who were surrounding me, I mean, they never fail, they never fall, you know, they never make these mistakes. And of course you'll hear it on Sunday mornings, these pious sermons like, I make a mistake all the time, but you never really see it, and they certainly are not confessing it to you, which again goes to another aspect of the Bible, confessing your sins one to another. But there's a certain amount of encouragement that comes from a new believer, or a believer that's being discipled, in seeing somebody that he sees as a godly influence, somebody that he sees is absolutely passionate about his relationship with Jesus, and yet he still makes mistakes. You know, he's not trying to hide his sin. He's not trying to live a life of sin, but he's also not trying to put on a false front to the degree that you know, he begins to end up like a whitewashed sepulcher, you know, dead on the inside and clean on the outside. So I think that these are all aspects that are missed in the modern church, especially churches that are like heavily evangelistic, and there's nothing wrong with this at all. But the evangelism that we see done throughout the book of Acts, where the gospel is being spread in the new church movement in that apostolic area, one of the things that we see here is that those relationships continue, and that these relationships really, although some do occur in evangelistic type settings like street preaching and stuff like that, most of the interactions that occur are just random conversations where guys are sitting there talking, and the Ethiopian is sitting there reading a passage of the Old Testament, and you know, in comes I think it was Barnabas, and he's like, you know, hey, you know what that means? You know, do you understand that passage in Isaiah? And then he begins to kind of expand and elaborate there. But it's those kinds of interactions that we need to be focused on, and each one of us has aspects of our lives. We have hobbies, we have activities that we participate in, work, and so on and so forth, where we can use that influence and use that relationship to picture what it's like to be a Christian and to share the gospel, and then from that point to continue mentoring that individual and continuing to help them grow. So I wanted to go ahead and take a minute and share that with you guys today. Hopefully that's something that you can utilize and put to practical use in each one of your lives. So anyway, I'll talk to you later, and God bless.